Good afternoon, good morning, depending where you are in this wonderful world, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this recorded. This is POS Unleashed, where we discuss how point of sale doesn't become just a POS. It becomes an avenue of growth, an avenue of stretching your sales prowess across new ventures, new businesses, new merchants, and using this and unleashing the passion of the POS. Now, a lot of times on POS Unleashed, in our predecessor POS Uncensored, we're talking about how you can integrate and not integrate. That's the word I'm going to be talking about. Saying how you can use and evolve yourself with the POS Pros team, and how you can use them to be your POS experts in the field to be able to help you sell restaurant POS, retail POS, and a solid state of vetted POS systems that we have reseller agreements, have often free placements that we're doing across the United States. And that is still a huge focus of what we'll do. And we're actually going to go through a series in the coming weeks and months where we're going back and visiting multiple of those POS systems, talking to their owners, talking to their vendors. But today I want to talk about a specific problem that we see with more and more of our partners is they come across a POS that is currently not integrated into EPX, our processor here at PayProTec, and they are looking at, do I leave the deal? Do I walk away from this merchant? Do I go to a competitor? Do I, what are the things that I need to do in order to integrate with this POS, choose whether it's even worth it? And so I'm going to walk you through that process. Now, I'm going to a little inside bit. This is live. It's Thursday, April 23rd, 1:36 p.m. So a couple of you are watching this live. I didn't send out a text message. I finished the slides. We were hoping to have an interview today, and that interview fell through this morning. And so I had a backup presentation that I had an idea for, and this that I'm going to do. And I'd even already written the context for the slides, but the slides aren't done yet. In fact, I'll show you a little bit of live footage. This is Manus. This is one of my friend AI bots that does a lot of work for me, and one of the things I use. And if you want to look up some of our AI hacks, you'll see that on our YouTube channel here at PayProTec. But Manus is one of them I use, and it's building a 10-page or 10-slide deck. As you see, it just finished slide number 8 of 10. I gave it the content, this one, and I'm not even going to get a chance to review this, but we're going to go through these slides literally live. I think they'll be right. I gave them the prompt that I wanted. I had all the content that I gave her, but we'll see. So just a little bit of inside knowledge as we look at this. But the presentation here is really about focusing on how and when you walk away or you engage when it comes to the POS. So I'm going to go up to my first slide and let's see what it looks like. And hopefully as I finish, slide 9 and 10 will be done. But this is really, in fact, you're going to go up here and I'm going to, oh, that's interesting. So what it does, it's not letting me, oh, there it does. It does let me go full screen. All right. So here we go. So I'm going to go full screen over here and let you see, and I can put myself here in the little quarter POS integration playbook. But I really want to go to the next slide and it's really trying to decide, is the POS perfect and it won't integrate? Do you walk away? Do you side saddle and you work away for them to be able to use your terminal? Maybe you love the VP800 from Valor and you're going to be able to integrate, or VL800 from Valor. Maybe you like the P18 from Deja Vu. Depending on what you want, maybe you want to side saddle and say, hey, I'm going to walk through and help them understand how they can use the POS they're already using. Or I'm going to look and work and start through the process of actually helping them integrate into EPX. And so this is, a lot of times what happens is you walk into a merchant, you get on a phone call with a merchant and they say, I am using XYZ, whatever that is. Maybe it's a niche merchant, maybe it's something that was created for them, maybe it's something that they created for themselves, and it currently is processing through another processor. And the question is, can you integrate with it? Can you use it? Or I'm going to switch to that. And so you have to make this quick decision. And so you have to decide, is a missing integration means this deal is dead? Or is it a process to look to integrating for? And you have to answer a couple questions right away to figure out which way you want to go. So today what we're going to do, and let's see what the slide looks like for me as I go first time live over here, bridge the tech gaps in 5 steps. By the end of this playbook that I put together over the last couple last couple of weeks actually, but I'm obviously throwing the slides together right now. What I want to do is I help you understand whether you want to save the deal instead of or walk away. And it's I actually didn't write it that way, so AI is changing my wording a little bit because I want the decision point is sometimes you're going to walk away. Sometimes you're going to walk in and you're going to go, wow, this isn't worth it. So we're going to talk about what things make it worth it, what things don't, and what things make it so, man, I'm just going to work like what we probably do this 150 to 200 times a month, where they use the current POS they're using, sometimes even large name POS. We've seen it where they're using Toast and paying the Toast SaaS fees, but they're doing our processing on an Ingenico or a Valor or a Deja Vu terminal sitting next door, and then they're putting that information back into their Toast for reporting. We've seen that lots of times and being able to do that. We've seen it with a lot of practice management, PMS software, whether it's in the medical space. There's all kinds of those because you have that medical is so large. So you may have dental and vision and traditional medical and veterinary and chiropractor. And there's all, and each one of those has multiple. So we're talking hundreds, if not thousands of types of software that are practice management software. And a lot of times what we find is the best thing to do is learn that software and then turn it into a simple 3 to 4 step process that they can process on a side saddle terminal instead of working on that integration. Because a lot of times, one of the first things you have to ask is walking away from the deal, because we're going to do this, you got to get some clarity. And so you got to figure out, is this a POS that I'm working with and that it's maybe agnostic and is looking to integrate into new processors? Or is this an ISV where they're looking to only set up merchants and get with the payments? And the fact is both are out there. And so you have to engage and try to figure out what types in. So we'll talk about some of those questions you need to ask to, because we want to lessen the amount of time that you go through the long process of talking about integration. You get them looking at the APIs, you get our development team involved, you get some meetings, we'll talk about that. And we want to risk about going through all that process and then not ever going live, because we see that really all too often that one of our partners pushes for an integration, they get to the end and they actually never go live. They never use our processing. They never actually set it up. And the partner's sitting there going, man, I did all this legwork and I had nothing to show for it. And so we want to make sure you get an actual live processing merchant on a POS that's processing through you, so you get a residual, you can get bonuses, you can get all the things that come with selling and helping that merchant. And then hopefully you can turn it lastly into a repeatable playbook for your team and for others, because you're going to be able to say, man, I know you're certain. That's one of the things you identify is this a one choice opportunity? Or is this something that I'm going to be able to reproduce? So we're going to be talking about that. Let me surprise myself and see with my next slide. And this is a graphic, so it's interesting to see. You got to ask these 3 qualifying questions. Is this a POS, a hard requirement, or just a preference? And you've really got to read this out, because a lot of the merchants you're going to talk to are going to say, man, I really love this POS and I want you to be integrated with it. But I think a lot, and we've seen it, we see. I will think of one of our guys in our teams that do specifically dental and vision, and they've chosen not to get integrated into a lot of the practice management software, even not even integrating it and not even using the integrations that we have for some of the softwares, because they have created a whole package and a whole value add that's outside of that practice management software. And they've created a system, be able to train the office managers of exactly how to use their system of tools that they really are not going to give all their really proprietary sales process they've gone through, but they've created a whole way that we're talking hundreds and hundreds of these medical practices are switching and not using the integrated payments that are available on their practice management software, because they like the value that's being added, not only the savings, but other pieces where it's a lot of the features that they've learned. And I'm not going to do it, but they've figured out a pathway and they've realized that really it is not a hard requirement. It is just a preference. And if that is, you're going to redirect to an already integrated POS solution. You're going to redirect to a hybrid workaround, which is a partial integration where you're really training them to do that. And that's one of your questions. And then you're going to ask the question, what's really driving that choice? Do they think it's the only way for it to be easy, the only way to get the reporting they want, the only way to get to make their customer experience work the way they want to? If that is true, you've got to identify, is it really true, or is it just a preference that they have? What's driving that choice? A lot of times, sometimes you're going to actually find out what's driving that choice is that they just don't want to change. They don't want it to, and so they're just like, man, I just want to use this, even though it'd be better for their business to make that change. And then at the end of the day, it's also asking the question, what's the timeline for this? What are they actually looking to make this decision date? And if they say, man, I have got to make a switch, and I'm making a switch in my processing, and it's got to be integrated into this POS, and they say it's got to be done in 6 weeks, you need time. Integration is a period of time. It's a two-way street. It's getting the POS on board, just figuring out how the integration is going to go, which APIs you're using, which tools you're using to integrate that, how much experience both sides have, whether it's on the POS side, and then integrating with our EPX team. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But at the end of the day, we want to ask these questions. So this is kind of fun. I like to see these slides for the first time, and I get to do this live. All right. So for step one was simply confirming that the POS is truly a non-negotiable. That's what step one, making sure that this is the integration is the way to go. And I'm going to say 90% of the time, the answer is no, I don't need to integrate. I can get this sale, or let me make this really clear. I think a lot of times you walk in, merchant does, let's say it's a really good merchant, and you're going to make $1,000 a month, but it's the only merchant you're going to set up to do this. Then the integration is probably not something you're going to push it. Even at $1,000, maybe it is. Maybe for you, and maybe you can find the pathway. This is where you want to immediately, you identify whether this is a non-negotiable. And this is at this whole time, you're going to want to get our relationship managers, get Danny, get Jason Lee, our PPT team together, talking through. I know I was looking on our calendars today. I think we have 1 or 2 meetings with third-party ISVs that we're helping process through the integration, bringing them in. And this is a daily process. And for as a sales partner, when you walk in and you identify one of these thousands, if not tens of thousands of point of sale systems that are out there in the world that are not currently integrated with EPX, you're going to come and decide whether this is worth it. And this may not be worth it. The step one, I really think it's probably 95% of the time. What the answer is, you're going to get the sale without it, or the energy that it's going to be and the time, it's only going to turn into one merchant. And one merchant, you could be selling 15 other merchants while you're working through this process. Now, I know a lot of you walk in and you go, man, this comes in, you get connected to some type of network of merchants. They're all using the same, and I'm not going to use, but I'm thinking of specifically one of our merchants or partners that we're working with right now, and they become the official reseller of this particular network in this particular industry. Vagueness, I know, but I'm trying not to identify, trying to provide I didn't ask to tell their story. And they have identified a couple softwares that are very actively used across thousands of merchants. These merchants want to switch. And so we're working along one. You got to convince the POS to play game and say, hey, we're going to switch into the EPX, and then start that process. So there is value there. But like I said, I really think it's a limited amount of time. Most of the time, I really think 90% of the time you can get the sale without doing the integration. 5% of the time, it's worth it to go after it. And then 5%, you just walk away. I don't know. These are sky numbers. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but that's my general take. All right. So moving on to the next one. Let me read these. I'm going to go full screen here so you can see. There we go. My button. Why is there we go. Here, we'll go full here. I think as my computer is slowing down, hopefully my streaming is all right. Got a few of you watching live. I'm going to go a little faster. I've realized I've already taken a lot of time. Step 2, define what integration actually means. The key points first, you've got to understand, do they want card present, card not present in both, whether they need hardware, terminals, EMV, contacts readers. There's all kinds of things you start needing to ask a question about it, because you want to collect this information. And then as you talk to developers on both sides and work with us and our relationship managers and our team of people, we want to help you work through all these. So I'm not going to go through all this, but these are just some of the questions. I'm going to leave this on the screen. If you email me at Nate, N-A-T-E, at PayProTec.com, I will absolutely send you the slide deck so you have some of this. But at the end of the day, you want to create an understanding and a stakeholder. And one of the things you can do is you start walking through and do a scope of work and helping identify which things you're actually going to work on. And so that is one of the things that becomes more and more important, that you understand that scope of work, what it actually means, understanding the key checkpoints. Let's look at the next slide and see what it is. Step 3 is to get the right dev conversation started. And this is where we jump in. This is where we thrive. Let me go in full screen. I'll come back to the slide here in a moment so I can identify it a little more. But you've got to understand, we're going to be able to, you've got to get the conversation going with the POS. We can help you ask the right questions, dialogue, jump on a Zoom. Danny, Jay Solis, some of our team will bring in then eventually some of the developers on both sides, make sure we get the decision makers, but not only the decision makers who are say go, no go, but also the tacticians who are actually going to do the code. For the most part, obviously if it's card not present, there are less tests than when it is card present, because you're going to be integrating a third-party hardware where you're going to do certain tests. And then if it's new hardware, if something that they have that's proprietary to them, that's even the next step, it's a different step. I don't think that's often you're going to test this, but let's say they've created their hardware and they've sourced their own hardware and it's never been certified on EPX. There's going to be multiple checks and you're going to go through each card type and do all these things. And this is where we jump in and we help you answer the questions. We get the dev teams working together. We make sure that we are all working together, and we kind of acted that linchpin pin. And it's put in the slide in the pictures. I'm kind of showing this. They're showing the PayProTec contacts. We're kind of the integration owner, but we're making sure everybody's talking together, interacting together, and ultimately that they are answering the right questions and proposing the right solutions. This is not an easy process. That's why you have to identify, is this worth the work? This is usually at shortest 8 weeks, at longest it can take a year, because sometimes what happens is, especially when you have a new hardware integration and you have a POS, they may be doing multiple integrations at the same time, and they may prioritize at different times. They may focus, and so you've got to keep the teams, and that's why we're a good place to kind of help you, and we're going to work together to make sure everybody's moving forward, and we will get to that finish line once we've identified this is really worth it. So we figured out some of the things, what kind of payment flows. We try, a lot of times we do try to figure out what the target go live timeline is. Man, I'm going to stop here, make a little aside. I hate giving dates. Yes, we're going to go live on this date. A week from today, we're going to have a special. Billy's been working something. He's got something new. He's going to be coming and bringing a new introduction. Next week, this coming Thursday, on the last day of April, we're announcing some things that, and specific integration is going to be available to all of our partners, something he's been working on for a long time to get to work. But at some, we've heard some dates over the time from all the parties involved in this thing, and it's now fully live, and we've been beta testing, and we're ready to go fully public. But we've heard dates that this has been a multiple month, almost year process. And you just keep working, and you have so many people that are involved. And so one of the things you do is I shy away. We set a target date, but we don't make any guarantees, because there is a lot of moving pieces, and it's on both sides, and they've got to line up, and it will happen, sometimes faster, sometimes slower. But let's not go and promise the merchant, hey, this is when this is going to go live. We're going to go live on June 1st. If you said that today, man, for a POS, it's just, don't do it. Just don't do it. All right, let's see what my next slide is as we go. All right, validate with testing before you sell it. And this is the biggest thing. I've seen this a few times where the POS is like, hey, everything's working, and they're doing, but make sure, don't go live with make sure you're having other ways to do it. You validate the hardware and confirm everything works, test the refunds, declines. Here's a few things, basic transactions. You start with the sandbox. I'm kind of reversing. This graphic's pretty cool. I gave them the good, and I didn't create this. Thank you, AI, for doing this. But you start with the sandbox, but when eventually you want to go, and I just mentioned, we're launching something next week. It's already, what we're launching is working in active merchants live, because we started in the sandbox, we moved up the ladder, and we made sure eventually before we said anything. Now, the unique thing is, if you're doing this for one merchant, that live beta test may need to be where you have, the way they're currently processing is still available to them, and making sure that no matter what happens, they're going to be able to transact, making sure that there's multiple redundancies, opportunities, and we can walk you through this. But one of the things I see is people get so excited and they announce, and I've seen people market a product, say it's ready, even when they haven't ran one transaction on it live yet in a live merchant. Don't do that. Do a beta test, get 1, 2, 3 locations. If you're doing this just for one really large merchant, we've done that before. We do an integration for a merchant that might make $10,000, $15,000 a month for, ultimately a value for it because of different opportunities, and where they're, we're talking of, millions of dollars of monthly volume and opportunities to make money. But you still want to make sure just you get excited. It's a long process, and we've seen people don't make the merchant have a bad experience at the end. Hold off. Lots of beta testing. If you only have one, and a lot of times we can set up live mids for another beta tester, but if you don't want to test it on the mid, because you don't want a transaction or something that you can't see. As much as you test everything in the sandbox until you're live in the, you just don't know. And so you want to get into something that is practical, and you want to make sure you set expectations for your merchant that makes it work. So, all right, as we go, step 5, let me find out live with you guys what my slide looks like. This is the ultimate goal. If you're going to go down the ISV route, if you're going to get connected and you're going to unleash the power of the POS to the world because you've launched a new POS with EPX, you're going to make your residuals and your bonuses. Once you have a proven merchant and maybe a couple merchants up and running, this is where you want to productize it. You want to make sure that it's not just a one-trick pony. Don't do all this work unless it's a really, if you have a merchant that's doing $100 million a year and you're going to be able to set them up on differential pricing and dual pricing, and you're going to make a significant amount of money between bonuses and residuals, then I understand it's probably worth the time, the headache, the months of work that it's going to take. But at the end of the day, don't make this, even if you are making that, look for other merchants to serve. These systems that you're setting up, that you're getting that conversation going, you're getting that integration going, you're starting that conversation. At the last step 5 is, got one merchant running, let's get 5, let's get 10, let's get 15. There's other ways to do it. There's different steps. And this is where we can walk through. All of this is stuff that we can walk and handhold you through, but we are looking to help you make the right decision, help you understand when it's time to be part of the POS. And at the end of the day, I put all these ideas together, starting with these slides, doing all that. But the real thing is that you got to call, you got to email, you got to text, because let's get together. We're going to get together on a Zoom. We're going to go through some of the processes. Danny and Jason Lee are going to introduce you to some of our development team. They're going to bring them in with the development team from the POS when that decision makes that this is a viable, reusable thing to go do. And we're going to walk you through this. But even when you start, that's why we do this, because I want you to start asking the questions. When you come into that place and go, yeah, we might be interested in doing dual pricing, and we might be interested in working with you on merchant services, but you've got to work with this POS, the software I'm currently running. You've got to identify, is it worth it? And these are some of the things that I wanted you to think about. So on behalf of PayProTec, I want to just say, at the end of the day, the 5-step integration is this. Last slide. First, you got to qualify the deal. It's a go or no go decision. You scope the integration, you create a scope of work that's a one-pager. I actually didn't say that. It usually is a one-pager. You're just trying to make sure this is all the things that need to do. These are the steps. Then you make sure the communication is constantly happening, and we're going to bring the whole team together. You make sure that you build and test and you validate, and you go from beta all the way to live merchant. And then lastly, let's work together to make sure that it's not just for one merchant. Even if that one merchant is 100% valuable and worth it, 2 merchants is double worth it. And so usually there's a way to productize this to create that niche. And there are so many types of POS out there, so many opportunities. And so we want you to identify those deals, because we want you to not let an integration kill the deal. Start with step 1 today. When you come across those people that say, I want to use this POS, help identify the questions. Look for ways to be able to, navigate them using that POS or switching to another POS or going through that conversation. But when it's a deal breaker and the value is there, we're here to help you walk that trail, walk that path, take the journey, put the work in, and we're going to see some incredible success together. So that's been my 3 minutes of a little presentation, just me putting it together. We'll be back next week. Going to be doing some live of a new piece of hardware right here. I'm going to do, hopefully, this is going to be pretty fun. So there's something noon. We're going to be launching. Billy's going to be telling us what he's been working on and introducing a whole new product suite. And at 1:30 next Thursday, I'm going to be walking you through one of those pieces of hardware that I think is really a hybrid between terminal and POS. And it's a great place for us to fits into our product suite. Just continue to give you options and options and options when it comes here at PayProTec. Thanks for watching POS Unleashed. Thanks for those who watch live. Thanks for those who are watching afterwards. And if you happen to catch the clips, and this is part of the clips, thanks for watching the clips. Probably not, this is not a clip probably, but thank you so much. on behalf of PayProTec, this is POS Unleashed. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Cheers.